next presenters will be Abdul Samad and Mohannad Mofawaz, presenting their findings on Muslim affluent donors. Abdul Samad is a research scholar and an assistant director of the Muslim Philanthropy Initiative at the Indiana University Lilly Family School of Philanthropy. Brother Samad also serves as the managing editor for the Muslim Humanitarian Review Journal, overseeing the dissemination of research on Muslim philanthropy and Muslim humanitarianism. Mohannad is a third-year PhD student at Lilly Family School of Philanthropy. His research centers on financial sustainability strategies for nonprofits with a focus on initiative approaches to ensuring long-term impact and resilience in a nonprofit sector. So please give them a big round of applause and bring them in.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Greetings of peace. My name is Abdul Samad, and I want to thank you, the host of the conference. And it is an honor and privilege to be speaking to an esteemed group of scholars, academics, students of knowledge, practitioners. So today, my colleague Mohannad Mofawaz and I will be talking about the philanthropic attitudes and practices of Muslim Americans. This was a study that was conducted by Bank of America, and we are specifically looking at high net worth individuals. I come from a school which is dedicated to study philanthropy, so Indiana University Lilly Family School of Philanthropy, and I represent the Muslim Philanthropy Initiative. So one of the missions of the Muslim Philanthropy Initiative is to equip organizations, communities, leaders with knowledge about philanthropy through training, research, thought leadership, and scholarship. And I just want to make mention of one thing that one of our keynote speakers this morning, Dr. Main Al-Quda, mentioned. And it is intriguing and interesting to see how Islamic finance is gaining traction. And one thing Dr. Main Al-Quda mentioned is that the Islamic finance has the potential to become the hub of financial activities in the US. So I think this is very important, and I look forward to listening and hearing more from everyone's scholarship here. So this research analyzes survey data from the 2021 Bank of America study on philanthropy. And what we look at is how the high net worth Muslim individuals in the US give and how we compare them with other groups, which is non-Muslims, including Jewish, Christian, and other groups. We'll talk more about the sample. So first question, before I go to two questions that we look in this study is, why do we study high net worth Muslim individuals? Well, the reason is simple. Because these high net worth individuals are key players in funding social initiatives which use the concept of Islamic social finance, such as zakat, sadaqah, and waqf. So by learning about high net worth individuals, we learn about their giving preferences, how we can collaborate with them, how we can engage with them, and how we can tailor and design products and services related to Islamic social finance. So two questions this study looks at. What are the main characteristics of Muslim philanthropy in the US? And the other question is, what are the similarities and differences of Muslim philanthropic attitudes as we compare them with other groups? If we look at the story of United States Muslims, and this is coming from one of the books that I co-authored with Dr. Shariq Siddiqui, who is an assistant professor and director of Muslim Philanthropy Initiative, and Dr. Rafiel Wasif at Portland State University, in which we look at the 5 frames that tells the story of United States Muslims. Well, number one is the Muslim community is extremely diverse when it comes to their ethnicity, their backgrounds. They're very diverse, comprising of 1.1% of the total population of the US. They're still a minority. The third is they're isolated. When I say they're isolated, it means they are not in the habit of collaboration, where there may be some interfaith collaboration, but when it comes to intra-faith collaboration, the community as a whole is lacking. There is Islamophobia, and there are concerns of legitimacy and scrutiny that Muslim nonprofit sector is still fighting. And when we look at the giving landscape, there are burgeoning definitions on what is giving and what is philanthropy in the US. And there is also data about Muslim giving in the US. What are the practices, how the Muslim nonprofit sector is operating post 9/11 context, how Muslim gives, who do they give, what is the informal and formal way of giving. But 2 points the existing literature brings our attention, or maybe attention where we need to focus on. Point number 1, we are missing the research on high net worth Muslim individuals in the US. And point number 2 is when we talk about Muslim philanthropy, we don't find the concept of zakat, sadaqah, waqf, and other philanthropic tools when we look at the broader definition of philanthropy, which basically is comprised heavily of Western philanthropy. So there is a need and appeal to talk about philanthropy from the lens of Muslim philanthropy as well. So the survey, and my colleague Mohannad will talk more about the results of the study, but the target population, we look at age 18 and above, and we looked at households with 1 million or more assets and with income of 200,000 and plus. And we looked at the Muslim subsample, and we compared it with the African American, Asians, Hispanic, LGBTQ, Jewish adults, and others. And one of the limitations of the study, because it focuses on high net worth individual, it does not tell you about all Muslim Americans, but it focuses primarily on high net worth Muslim individuals. And the report primarily looks at 8 characteristics, although there is more to the research, but we're focusing on 8 characteristics in American giving of high net worth individual. One is, what are the reasons of their giving? So why are they giving? What is their knowledge of giving? How are they assessing their impact of giving? What are the tools they utilize when it comes to their giving? So are they relying mostly on cash, digital tools? And what are the deciding factors of them giving? So why do they give? What are their motivations? How did COVID-19 impacted their giving patterns? What are the challenges they have when it comes to giving? And how are they volunteering? So I'm going to stop here and ask my colleague Mohannad to come here and take us forward with this presentation.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Really happy to be here. Really happy to listen to all of these great presentations. When we ask our participants about their giving experience, Muslims and non-Muslims, we didn't really find significant differences between Muslims and non-Muslims. They both engage in a similar manners with charitable giving. However, when we ask them about their knowledge about philanthropy, about charitable giving, what we found is that most of our participants, like around 88% of Muslims, rated themselves as either expert or knowledgeable about charitable giving and philanthropy, comparing to around 62% of non-Muslims who rated themselves as knowledgeable or expert. When we ask them about the donation means, how they usually donate to either organizations or individuals, we found that both Muslims and non-Muslims, they prefer donating in cash, with, of course, like Muslims prefer to donate in cash more than non-Muslims. One thing that also significant in this data is that we see a lot of Muslims that prefer to donate clothes or household items, food, than non-Muslims. One thing that we should keep in mind that non-Muslims also prefer to donate closely held securities like stocks, for example, but Muslims do not prefer that way. I want to spend more time in this one because my research focus on financial sustainability, and I love this question so much. So when we ask them, why do you give? We found like Muslims, comparing to non-Muslims, they donate when they are asked to donate or spontaneously as a response to a need. I know fundraising sometimes, يعني after Jum'ah or before praying Taraweeh can be tedious, can be annoying to some people, but guess what? It actually works, especially with high net worth people. One thing that also I wanna highlight here, like around 60% of our participants indicated that when they believe their donation make a difference, they always give. And probably this is a bit different with people who are not high net worth donors. And probably Dr. Siddiqui, who was speaking after Jum'ah, inshallah, can elaborate more on that. But usually when we ask people to donate, we remind them about ajr, which is very important. However, we forget sometimes to tell them more about the impact of their donation and what is the difference. And for people who makes more than 200K, they care about the impact. They care and they ask a question and they monitor how the value of their dollars. And I'm going to elaborate more in a couple of slides. But keep this in mind because this is an interesting finding. One other interesting finding that I want to highlight here as well is that we had like also around 60% of our Muslim participants indicated that they donate to address global issues, comparing to like around 11% of non-Muslims. I know there are too much going on right there, but if you want me to elaborate in any one of these, inshallah, if we have time in the question period, or I can talk after. The causes they care about, mainly they care about women and girl causes for Muslims and youth causes as well. These are the causes that we presented to them, and I'm sure like if we have more causes we will get better idea, but this is what we found based on the questions we asked. The impact of their giving, I already talked about the importance of this one. We found that like around 75% of Muslims, they actually monitor the value of their dollars. They ask, they make sure that they get the impact they were promised. So they monitor first, and also they make sure the intended impact is actually taking place. And one interesting thing you might find, these people who gives to organization one time, if they don't see the impact, they might not donate to your organization again. So always remind them about the impact and always show them the impact their dollar is making. The challenges they faces, we see that because Muslims care a lot about monitoring the impact of their dollar, so they find this challenging to them to make sure that our dollar get the value that we are hoping for. So they find it challenging. We also see here that allocating time to volunteers, because they are busy people. Again, they make like 200K and more. The household make around 1 million or more. Who decides where the money goes? Usually for Muslims, they decide individually. Either male and female, they decide individually properly because of how Islam is encouraging hiding your donation, how Islam is encouraging that it is personal responsibility. It's not a household responsibility to give sadaqah or zakah, etc., etc. But we see like that non-Muslims, they usually make the decision of making giving or charitable giving jointly. The impact of COVID-19, two things I want to point out here. First, giving to individuals internationally decreased comparing to the previous year. And we also see that giving for basic need has increased the year of COVID by 68, and that's huge. Even though Muslims find hard time allocating time for volunteering, we see that mashallah across the board for all these volunteering opportunities, they indicate that they are volunteering more than our non-Muslim participants. Two things I want to focus more, and you probably it's something that caught your eyes, is fundraising and selling items. And this is something high net worth people actually enjoy volunteering. So my question to you, have you ever asked your donors, major donors, to raise fund for you? This is very important because they enjoy it. They love volunteering, doing that. So why not to ask? And also, they collect and distribute food, clothes, or household items. Just keep this in mind because I think this is very important in giving us an idea how can we utilize our major donors. Because again, if we are striving for financial sustainability for our organization, this is what we should look at. Conclusions. I still have 3 minutes. Conclusions. Muslims are active members of philanthropy ecosystem in America. Abdul Samad already talked about that. Muslims are more proponent and impact to impact giving. So high net worth donors care about impact. Mention that always when you raise fund. The third thing, main volunteering area, volunteer fundraising. So make sure you ask your major donors to raise fund for you and talk to their network because usually they have good, wealthy network. So ask them. They enjoy doing that. Collecting and distributing basic needs. And last thing, main giving area, education, healthcare, and climate. I think we did include this slide. That was a mistake, but this is the conclusion.